Hey there, everybody. My name is Zach Pfeiffer, and this is your recap of episode 7 of season 45 of Survivor, The Thorn in My Thumb. And I definitely think this was Katora's episode. She definitely took the narrative, she took the title of the episode, and I was worried she was going to go home for a second. But she made a big move, and it's up to time to tell us if it was going to be the right move for her game. But it seemed to be centering around Katura and Brucey and Jake. We kind of saw a lot about them trying to make some big moves, and we'll see. I thought this episode, after last week's crazy episode with the shot in the dark, it was like fine. I would have loved them just to have had a straight vote and had voted out one individual. This twist followed by last week's twist just feels like two separate tribe swaps right after the merge. So I don't think they've really merged yet because they haven't voted as a merged tribe. But that being said, this is new era Survivor. You guys kind of have to adjust and change up your previous expectations of what Survivor is. And I guess that's what's happening. It's just, I'll say this before we dive in. Caleb had a very unlucky run of Survivor. I am someone who I don't think Survivor plays a huge part into the game, but there is luck there. When it comes down to it, you can play a great social game, a great strategic game, a great physical game, but if you get swap screwed and you're an easy vote and that's the way the cards fall, then you're an easy vote. So I think this is kind of online with that. I think there were some moves that could be made to have saved Caleb. But I'll get through that in the end of the episode. Let's dive on into what we saw. So Caleb comes back from his amazing shot in the dark. He canceled 12 votes, and everyone is just kind of like, they don't know what to do. And Caleb's playing a really good social game here of being like, listen here, haha on me, you guys did a really good job. It's super easy to bully the kid on the bottom, and you didn't, so thank you. Nothing but gratitude. He is projecting no hurt feelings. He's projecting, I want to work with people, I'm a number, which is exactly kind of what you have to do in a situation like that. Even though it was pure luck, it is a big move. And as a result, J. Maya is gone. Would have been even crazier if they targeted someone else like Emily, if Dee had gone. But that being said, survived. And shortly after they get back to the beach, Bruce puts his dad foot in his mouth and is and in the confessionals he kind of is implying he's doing this intentionally. For some reason Bello is on the ropes with Katura. They do not want Katura there. They think Katura might flip, so they're wanting to vote Katura out. They mentioned this in the last episode when they're looking for the rings in the sand before Bruce got his idol. And again, Bruce is like, so Katura, why were you so hesitant to vote for Caleb? And then Katura is just kind of like, I wasn't hesitant to vote for Caleb, even though we all saw, and it's confirmed moments later, that she wants to work with Caleb, and she wanted to get Drew out. I believe that was the split last week, Drew? Too many split tribes. I did myself a favor and split the two tribes into the groups so I could remember when we get to the challenge. But Katura and Caleb catch up, and then Katura starts going around camp and kind of being like, did you hear Bruce? Did you hear Bruce? Did you hear Bruce? And they're all like, yes, he is unhinged. We have to take care of Bruce. So we're getting two narratives here that are shown from two perspectives. And it seems to be the Bruce-Jake perspective is Katura is on the bottom of the totem pole, while the Kendra, Kelly, and Katura narrative is that Bruce is on the bottom. While Kelly truly continues to play this mid-game of do I go with Bruce? Do I go with the ladies? And trying to keep her cards open as best as possible. We're getting to the point in the game where Kelly is going to need to make a decision, maybe not publicly, but internally, what she's going to do. It seemed that she's definitely here with Bruce right now, as we saw throughout the rest of the episode. But I don't know if that's not necessarily the best choice in this situation. With Bruce is someone who is such a big target. He's developing into almost a Philip Shepard type character. Where nothing they say really makes sense. You can't really have a conversation with them, but also you could goat them to the end and no one would really vote for them. So I see what Kelly's doing, and to have someone be like, "You're my number one. I'll tell you everything if you tell me everything," is valuable in the game. But if it is in the form of Bruce, I would maybe start thinking about cutting that rope very soon. It is protection, but Bello already seems to be in tatters, and Reba is going to destroy Bello and the remaining Bellos if they don't get themselves together and figure out a plan. Now that Caleb is gone, that Emily seems to be kind of secured in that Reba number, like they're running out of extra numbers, and it would be really easy for Dee to lead a charge to get the rest of them out. Which, in this last episode, at Tribal Council, Caleb said, I think Dee and Julie are a threat. Jake definitely picked up on that at that Tribal Council. Dee did not like to hear the sound of that. She's saying, you say my name, I'm willing to send you home, which puts a target on Caleb right away in this episode. I think the only other big things that we see before we get to a challenge is we get to see a little bit more goofiness from Sifu playing football with Bruce, which is like, it seems to be all the clips we get from Sifu this season. I was pretty confident Sifu was going to go in this episode. They've not given him much of a narrative. His story seems to be like just kind of the quirky, goofy one that never really fit in, which is like kind of a sad narrative to have on Survivor. Because Sifu seems fine. It seems fun. So in an interview after he left, he did say that he was working with Mama Julie quite a bit. Said that they had a thing going on, which we just have never seen in the show. So how close they were, we will never know. Yeah, and I guess the only other thing is Kendra's kind of like very much on the boat of like, let's get rid of Bruce. As Reba numbers go, yeah, we didn't get much of Drew and Austin in this episode. Yeah. So we get to the challenge, and we are thrilled to see, we saw this in the trailers, but it's Get a Grip. It is a classic Survivor challenge. It's been played many, many times. I think the last time it was played was in season 40 at Winners at War, and I believe Jeremy Collins won that season, that challenge. It's been around for a really long time. It's been played like 8, 9, 10 times. And men typically have done better in this game, which is surprising because you think that because it's like a body weight thing that the women would do better. But that has changed with this episode because we split into two groups at random. And in one group we have Austin, Dee, Jake, Julie, Caleb, and Katura. And then we have Bruce, Drew, Emily, Kelly, Kendra, Sifu on the other group team. Here's the twist. They're competing for individual immunities for themselves because each group is going to be voting somebody out at Tribal Council. There'll be 2 immunity necklaces. And the big shitty part is so last one standing will not only win reward, but guarantee whoever they're voting out a spot on the jury. Meanwhile, the other group is going to go first. They do not have reward, and who they vote off will not make the jury, which is just the shittiest twist. It sucks. You've merged. You've like gone through the merge. J Maya was booted, and like it just sucks. You know, like in the old days when you merged, you made the jury, and to like mess that up is just so. If I was Sifu, I would be so sad. I'd be so sad. I'd cry. But as we remember, Dee has massively long, beautiful toes, and her toes just carried her on through. So it came down between Kelly and Dee, both really badass, both winning immunity for themselves. But Kelly doesn't pull it out at the end. Kelly falls first, knowing that one of these 5 lovely people will not make the beautiful jury. Dee is thrilled. She's literally hanging like ass down, being like, we're gonna eat. We're gonna eat. And I am loving Dee, okay? She is doing this really cool thing this episode, even though I did say that like it was kind of Katura and Jake and Bruce's episode. Dee had quite a bit of like pull here, okay? Like they are out in the water after the challenge trying to figure out like what they want to do. And Dee's like, whenever anyone has like saved themselves, they don't go home the next episode. Let's change that. I want Caleb gone. And we remember, Caleb said Dee's name at Tribal Council. Dee is saying, you say my name, I'm sending you home. She's beginning this like mafiosa type, like, don't fuck with me. And she just wanted an immunity challenge, so her threat level is rising. But the thing is, she has the numbers to control that. She has Julie, she has Austin, and she has Drew. And the 4 of them are rock solid at this point. And yes, those are only 4 of our groups up here. But if you look at Bello, you have Jake and Bruce are on one side. Kendra and Keturah are kind of on the other side, with Keturah kind of being on the outs, so kind of isolated. Kendra's kind of isolated. Kelly is in the middle between, can kind of rope together these guys, but also with Bruce and Jake if she needs to, which is a little bit stronger, so it makes sense that she's holding on to Bruce, but it is in tatters. It's a group of 3 and a group of potentially 1-1-1. You know, like, those numbers are going to be split up very easily. And then you have these 2 Lulu in the middle that are going to be kind of like floating numbers, but Emily is kind of locked in with these 4 right now, so Emily could be a Reba number. So that is just like giving Bello very little room to wiggle right now, and if they're not taking that into consideration, they have to do something soon because they're going to be wiped off this game. But yes, Dee is saying, I want Caleb gone. Meanwhile, Jake over here does not want Caleb gone, and Jake and Caleb are open about that, and Keturah has openly been working with Caleb as well. So what do? There are 3 Reba here. There are 3 other numbers that are not Reba. And the decision is, how do we save Caleb in this situation? And Jake and production shows us how. We get a flash forward, which is a survivor first. Really interesting. I liked it in the moment, but then to see like the actual tribal council have a much less exciting and riveting like result, it like kind of takes a little of the oomph out. But in the right situation, these flash forwards could be like really, really riveting. So don't stop doing them, production. Just like find maybe like the tribal council to do it at. But Jake's plan is to get Keturah, Caleb, and Jake to vote for Julie to weaken Dee, because these 2 are seen as like a tight 2. If they are able to get 3 on Julie, then Dee, Austin, and Julie will vote 3 on Caleb, forcing a rock draw. So what this situation is, if you didn't like catch on in the episode, if there's a tie in Survivor, say 3-3-3, okay. So Julie and Caleb, they cannot vote again. The other 4 that voted, so Caleb, Keturah and Jake, and Dee and Austin would re-vote. If there is another tie, then we go into the situation where they have an open forum, and they have to agree out loud and be like, we are sending either Caleb or we're sending Julie home, and it has to be unanimous. And if they can't come to a unanimous decision at this point, then we go to a rock draw. In that situation, Caleb and Julie will be safe. Dee has an immunity necklace, she is safe. So Austin, Jake, and Keturah would be forced to draw rocks. Whoever draws the odd rock is out of the game. What Jake is proposing here is he knows that Julie and Dee are rock solid. Rock solid. Austin, on the other hand, is a little bit more shaky, and they can sense that. And Jake is convinced that if he can get them to get to that point where they're about to re-vote before the rock draw, that they can be like, we're locked in, we're not changing our vote. Austin, come with us, you can work with us, let's vote out Julie. Trying to flip Austin. That is the proposed idea. And I think it's a relatively good idea. Only problem in Jake's number is they are looking at Keturah as purely as a number and not as an ally at this point. And in Survivor, it is really, really important to keep your eye on the people you want to work with. You have to nurture those relationships. You have to give them something so they can give you something back. And this situation kind of felt like they were dropping the right information about Bruce's idol to Keturah, but Jake kind of like fucked up a little bit when he said that the rings, oh yeah, I dropped my ring and we were looking for the idol. And she goes, that was that? That's what that was? And what that interaction told me, that Keturah now, yes, Bello's not working with her, and that she is like, okay, they didn't tell me about the idol, but one, they went above and beyond to deceive me, and I fell for it. And I think that's a really scary position to be in Survivor, because other than being like voted out, which is the worst case scenario, that is a situation where you're like, I was playing a game over here while everyone else was playing a game over here, and that is dangerous for my life here. So Jake was telling this stuff to Keturah as if it was going to endear her and be like, okay, great, they told me about this idol, we'll work together. But that, for me, is like a big mistake. Like, you need Keturah to vote with you guys. So, like, secure that trust. Don't alienate her. So, like, going into the vote, I had a strong feeling the way that she was going to vote. Let's talk about that, because that is the second vote off. Let's go back to this tribe. Sifu's the obvious number. I think that we have 2 Reba left. We have 3 Bellos. So Bella should take out a Reba, just to kind of balance the numbers out a little bit. Drew immediately is kind of like, listen here, I will vote for Sifu if necessary. Kind of something very similar that I almost said Brando did in that previous tribal council that Drew had so much pull in with Emily. Funny thing here, and this is confirmed in the exit interviews by Sifu, and Drew talks about it on the episode. They don't go back to their beach. They didn't bring their bags with them, which means that Drew does not have his shot in the dark or his safety without power. Sifu does not have his fake idol or his shot in the dark, which is just like, it's like going home with an idol in your pocket. Like, it sucks to have that situation. Lesson learned, bring your shit everywhere. If you have an idol, just bring it. I'd rather, like, it be found by everyone else than, like, me not having it when I desperately need it to stay in the game. So that is why we don't see a shot in the dark from Sifu or Drew. That's why Drew doesn't use his safety without power, which I think he would have used. I think the last time you can use this safety without power is final 10. So he has one more tribal council to do it. So don't think Drew's going home next week, y'all. But quickly turns on Sifu. And so the numbers quickly go to him at the very beginning of the scramble. And then the question becomes, do we work with Bruce? Bruce has been paranoid. He's playing this old school game. In the last week's episode, we saw him not being like, Bello, do not talk to Reba, do not talk to Reba. If you talk to Reba, then I assume you're like cheating on us, which is like, get over yourself, Bruce. Like, welcome to the new era. And it's really between Kelly and Kendra. These guys are like, what do we do? Do we vote for Bruce or do we vote for Sifu? Because if these two are able to like work it out and then they'll pull Emily in, I'm sure they can get Drew and Sifu as well. It would not be that hard to get Bruce out. You know, I don't think it would have been smart for Bello to get rid of one of their own yet, okay? I don't think Bruce was the smart choice. The smart choice was making him flush his goddamn idol. With someone like Bruce, who was so volatile in the last episode, like, I think he's someone who could very easily flip later in the game for his own hide. So he has an idol in his pocket. I don't think he's going to play that for anyone. I don't even think he's going to play that for Kelly. So I want that out of the game. I don't want that to be like an option here. So I would have been like, Bruce, you should probably play your idol. Meanwhile, Kelly's like, you don't have to play your idol, and really convinces him he doesn't have to do it, which she is right. We even have that beautiful moment when Kendra's like, I'm not voting for you, I'm voting for Sifu. I swear, I swear, I swear. Which, you know, Bruce is on to the Bella stank now. Like, he is aware his name was thrown out. He's aware of Kendra. So I think Bruce is in this precarious situation now that he survived this last vote, that next tribal council, he's gonna have to be smart. I think that he's a target. He'd very easily go home next week, but he does have an idol. So, like, will he play his idol and save himself next week? I, as a Survivor player, would be like, yes, play it next week. But knowing Bruce and his, like, arc so far, I think his ego is going to get the best of him, and he's not. So, yeah. Anyway, they go to Tribal Council. It seems pretty, like, bleak. Like, it seemed like Sifu knew and had nothing to do. He, like, kind of gave up. So, it's a bummer. It's sad. Because he's not going to be in the jury. And Sifu is such a character. So, with a beautiful vote of 1 vote against Bruce and 5 to Sifu. Again, no one split, which is insane to me. Sifu is the last member of our pre-jury, which, to be so close to the jury, I would be so sad. And then we get back to our tribal council that we alluded to in the flash forward. Everything's going as we saw in the flash forward. We have basically, it's going down the line. We have 2 votes Julie, 2 votes Caleb. Okay, and then we have another vote Caleb. And here is the deciding thing. Did Katura vote for Julie? Did Katura vote for Caleb? What is she going to do? Of course, she votes for Caleb. And Caleb is the first person on our little jury over here. So, whoop. Jury number 1, Caleb, a great first juror. He is the king of Ponderosa now. Everyone that's voted off is going to see his face now and help hit. So, like, all that being said, Caleb has, like, now a huge influence on who wins this game. Of course, there's a lot more game to be played, a lot more tales to be told. But when people come back to to Ponderosa after them booted, Caleb's going to be the one that's have the rational, grounded mind. He's been out the longest. He's going to be wanting to absorb information from everyone as they come in, and he's going to be able to kind of like steer the boat, hopefully the way he wants it to. After all, he is a salesman. So I would be, if I was not close with Caleb, if I threw him under the bus, I may not vote for him. Similar with Katurah. Her turning on him then might be enough to sour him from voting for her at the end. I think that the person that, of these people that voted out Caleb, the person that got the most jury votes, or points, I guess, would be Jake, because he fought for Caleb. So if Jake gets to the end and plays a good game, he could very well get Caleb's vote. But also D, because D said, you're going to target me, I'm going to target you. And I think Caleb is someone that is a respects game type individual. So I think that if D's at the end, she could very well get Caleb's vote as well. Austin, I don't think they had much of a working relationship from what we saw. Julie, same. And then Katurah flipped on him. So I think right now D and Jake are in a really good position with this first juror. Drew's in a bad position. I did not see much work from Drew and Caleb. Emily for sure is in a great position with Caleb being here, which, yes, Emily is out of the game, but she kind of has a one guaranteed vote on the jury now. So that could be a reason why Emily is targeted relatively sooner than later, because I think she's in the clear. But if she goes in the next couple of turns because of that rationale, I wouldn't be upset about it. It makes sense. And then Kelly and Kendra, I think Kendra would have a little bit more wiggle room than someone like Kelly. But when it comes down to someone like D or Jake, I think that these both knock them out of the water. So the real winners from this boot, I think, are D, Jake, and Emily. Even though Jake getting to the end had some other options here, and he did not play the cleanest. He played pretty messy. He had this grand idea, and then as soon as the votes come out, he's like, "Truly, I voted for you," which is maybe wait until we get back to tribal or camp and we can talk about that. But now we are down to our final 10, and I have been. This is I like this point in the game because now I can based on who I want to win and what I'm seeing in the season, I am kind of at the point where I can kind of piece together what I think is going to happen for the rest of the season. I'm often very wrong, but when I am have glimpses of correctness, it makes me really happy. So just a quick rundown of what I think is going to happen for the rest of the season. We have 10 beautiful people left. We have 1 Lulu, we have 4 original Reba, and we have 5 Bello. You think Bello could pull it together, but Katurah just flipped. So I do not think that Katurah will be working with these Bello members anytime soon. I think our next person on the chopping block will be Bruce. I think Bruce is going to be thinking that he can work with his Bello numbers. Bruce wasn't at this tribal council, so Jake is going to be the one that's going to be Katurah flipped. But I do think that Katurah is going to be listen, we have the numbers. We should stick together. We should. I think Kelly also will believe this. I think Kelly will be Bruce has an idol. Don't play your idol. We're still safe. But I do think that these people will come together and then take out Papa Bruce next. Shortly after that, I think we will see the demise of someone like Drew. I'm saying Drew based on the title episode. The episode is called The Sword of Damocles. If you're not familiar with that sword, it's basically the sword that this old ancient king hung above his throne as a reminder of the danger and peril of sitting on the throne. It's a story about power and how power corrupts. And when you're in a position of power, all eyes are on you to topple that power. I think it's Drew. So I think Bruce, then Drew. Then after that, it gets a little blurry. I think that we could lose these 3. I think honestly the bottom row right here is kind of on the bottom of the chopping block right now. I think Katurah will be able to work with these ladies and Austin in a sense because of this vote. Meanwhile, with Bruce gone, I can easily see Kelly getting targeted shortly after to upgrade this amulet over here. I can see Kendra going home as the Rivas continue to consolidate their power. Once more Bellows are gone, Emily would be a fine vote to go home at any point, just to stop the flipping if possible. Also, I can see any of these people getting idled out by Austin. So I think it's 10th, 9th, and then 8, 7, 6, these guys. I think, so I guess of these people who would make the finale episode, I think it would probably be so 10, 9, 8, 7. I think Emily's 7th. I think that is yeah. And then Kendra will make the finale episode. I think Kendra would be 6th. I think maybe Austin has to play his idols to get to this point, but I feel like he would want to save his idols for 5th, so maybe it's going to be like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and then I don't know. Then we get to the end. I obviously think Dee's winning. Dee's my winner pick, and the edits have been, I think, proven me right. She's either flying too close to the sun or she is on her winner arc. I want Dee to win. I think based on this last episode, it would, if Katurah is able to wiggle through, I think Katurah can make it to the final tribal council. If she doesn't lose to fire or anything like that. But I think that her and Jake will have this like reluctant lawyer alliance or whatever. Anyway, I think that Katurah would probably get to the, if she gets to the final tribal council, she would give Dee a run for her money, but because she flipped at this last one, is going to have to play a floppy game to get to the end now that her Bella numbers are so iffy. She's not going to have as many votes as Dee. I think that Julie could sit in the final 3, but realistically it's probably going to be Jake. I can see like Julie losing final fire to like Jake or Dee. A Dee and Julie final fire would be really great because of their... It's like I love it when the ride or dies have to do fire because it's the best way to like you or me. So if I had to finalize this, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And yeah. So that's what I think is going to happen. I'm curious how close I will be. I'm curious how wrong I will be. But it just makes sense. That's the vibe I'm getting. It's the edits I'm getting. Who are like... And this is another thing to keep out on when you're looking at edits. Because, like, yes, like, edits don't tell us everything. But they do want to tell us a story that narratively makes sense. Think about Sifu and J-Maya and how little we were seeing from them and how they both went home in, like, pretty meh tribal councils. And, like, there's an art to that. Like, we don't want to be too attached to the people that go home for, like, shitty ways. Like, yeah, J-Maya might have been the best character this season, but because she got swamped out in that shot in the dark moment, like, we didn't want to care too much about her. Now, going towards the end game of this, who looks like the boss? Who looks like they're swinging and missing? And who is like just floundering their way to the end? In the old days, it was so easy to find the GOAT and see them go to the end because there's no way they'd get a vote. That's not really how we play anymore. I think that whoever gets the end gets the end. And then we truly look at their game at that point. Of these people, the winners that I have in mind would be Emily and Dee and maybe Austin, to be honest. But this whole sandwich vendetta thing kind of like puts a hamper in that plan because like winners don't vote people out because of sandwiches. So I think our winners right now are either Emily or Dee. I think that like runners up that we see could be Katurah, could be Jake, could be Julie, could be Drew. And I honestly, it's sad, but I do not see a way for to the end right now for Kendra or Bruce. Kelly is in the middle, you know? I think Kelly still has, she has a chance to flourish and fly, but we will see. I think her game is so wrapped up in Bruce, it's hard to kind of pin her down. Whew. All right, so that was episode 7. We are zooming through the season. We have finally started our jury. We only have 10 survivors left, and I can't wait to see how it ends. Yeah, next week we get the auction back, which is just the best thing ever. I'm hoping that they've updated it a little bit. I hope it's just not the same old auction. I know that Jeff didn't like it because like people would save their money for advantages and stuff like that. I think what they need to do is have moments throughout the auction that force people to make that don't take away the advantages, just add more divisiveness. Like you have to pay $300 of your $500 if you want to compete in the next immunity challenge. Easy. Take $300 from everyone else. But if you don't want to, if you feel like you're safe, then don't. Spend like $25 on a burger. And then make the advantage, if there is an advantage, in the middle, and then have room on either side. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that this could go really well, and I'm really excited. And it was like featured in the promo at the very beginning. They told us in the trailer last week that this is coming back, so I assume it does a really good job, because otherwise they wouldn't put that much attention on the auction. And the only other thing about next week's episode that looks very exciting is the utterance of an all-girls alliance. Do we have Black Widow Brigade 2.0? Like, those September ladies are going to eat them alive. And I really hope it happens. I would love to see the ladies just to the end of this game. Wow. Okay, yeah, that was the episode. It was, I would give it like a 7 out of, like a 6.5 out of 10. I will see you all next week. Oh, and I think Bruce is going home next week. Yeah. I'll see you all next week. Much love, many coconuts, and enjoy a belly full of rice for me. Mwah.